it's that idea, that screenplay, that concept, whatever that's going to be, that's so important. And you have to stick to your guns. You have to find something that you can do that maybe other people couldn't do. And even if that seems different or doesn't fit into people's expectations, that's what's going to distinguish it if you can do it successfully.
Christopher Nolan is one of the most groundbreaking, innovative, highly respected filmmakers of our day. Major emphasis on the word filmmaker. Despite making huge, big-budget blockbuster films, Nolan has always dedicated himself to making quality art. Pictures that truly earn the label film. Check out any of the behind the scenes of any of Christopher Nolan's films and you'll see just how dedicated this guy is to his craft. He's very specific and calculated with every shot, every location, every decision involved in making his films. Christopher Nolan does it for a reason. He often has very specific things that he refuses to compromise on, pushing back against studio pressure. And all of this is geared towards making the movie-going experience better and more authentic.
There's a very unique experience for the audience there that they can't get in their living rooms. And I think that's something that's very, very important.
He's thinking about the audience and what it's going to be like for them when they're watching his film, how they are going to experience the movie. He's pushed back on using green screen. He's insisted on using IMAX cameras. I mean, look at the way they strap this huge IMAX camera to this plane just to get an in-the-cockpit perspective of the pilot. It's insane. It's amazing, and it's truly dedication to the craft. Look at how in his very first feature film, Insomnia, he's right up in legendary actor Al Pacino's space, all because he wanted to make sure that the audience was getting a solid perspective, being able to see things through the eyes of the character they're getting to know.
But I think my real interest is not so much, shifting time for the sake of it. My real interest is points of view, deciding whose eyes are we seeing the story through.
All of this is emphasized by the fact that he tends to make these very high concept, heady type scripts that are also very accessible to audiences. One of the major things that Nolan refused to budge on was a little something back in the 2010s called 3D. He was definitely getting pressure from studios to make his movies 3D, and as the pressure began to ramp up, he resisted. And today, now that the fad is over, he can proudly say that he never made a 3D movie. Or did he? Today, I'm gonna talk about Christopher Nolan's only 3D movie. It's Interstellar. On the surface, this may seem like obvious. Oh, yeah, Interstellar is about interdimensional travel. We get it, Kevin. However, I think there's something very fascinating to explore here about the way that Nolan makes movies and how I do believe that this movie is, in fact, his response to 3D. Or in some way, maybe subconsciously, some studio guy performed Inception on Nolan and told him, hey, make a 3D movie. And lo and behold, Interstellar was born. Could it be? I'm hoping this video gives us all some interesting perspective on this movie. Getting a new perspective on a movie can often change the way that you view the movie in a positive way. I mean, not that this major blockbuster necessarily needs me to change people's minds on it, but I don't know, maybe it's a fun exercise. All right, let's go. For context, I need to take you back to the wild world of 2010. 10 years ago, it was a time when people would go to these dark rooms and sit with people they didn't even know and experience a movie. It seems so long ago now. But even then, the industry knew that this whole thing was falling by the wayside. Netflix had started streaming 3 years before. Everyone knew that streaming was the future. But big studio money were dumped into getting people to go to the theaters. They wanted to keep it alive. It was flailing. It was in its death throes. This was mainly being accomplished by focusing on big, huge tentpole films. Movies like Iron Man 2, Tron, or The Last Airbender. And one little film in 2009 held the magic key to getting butts in seats. The biggest movie of all time up until that point, James Cameron's Avatar. Released in glorious IMAX 3D. And this movie affected everything. Since it made all of the money, everyone was on board at this point. Okay, let's do this. 3D, that's the wave of the future. Everybody except Christopher Nolan. So when this huge convert everything to 3D meteor hit, Nolan was right in the middle of post-production of Inception at the time, and the pressure was on. He actually gave it a shot. He let them do 3D conversion on part of the movie just to see how it worked, and he said, you know what? I don't like it. And it wasn't out of some sort of resistance to progress, like, that's not the way my grandpa made films. But it was out of the desire that he always has in most decisions he makes regarding his films to bring people into the experience of the film. He said that the glasses made the screen too dark and made the experience far more isolating, which is true. I mean, why do you think everybody loves the soundtrack of Tron? Because they couldn't see the movie. 3D and 3D glasses did exactly the opposite of what it was intended to do. Instead of drawing people into the experience of the movie, adding an extra dimension, it really seemed to put a layer of distance between you and the characters. And Nolan wasn't hostile towards 3D, he just didn't want it for his movies. It's probably never gonna happen again, right? Everybody grabbing glasses from a bin and then like putting their faces on something that strangers handed them. Not gonna happen now. Well, eventually the studios backed down and Nolan released Inception and The Dark Knight Rises the way he wanted to, in flat old tutti frutti, and they did great. So the studios were like, fine, you don't have to do it. But Nolan's next project was Interstellar, and he seemed to be focusing very intently, very intentionally, attempting to bring a clear view and perspective on what? Dimensions. Yes, Interstellar is Nolan's 3D movie in the most Nolan-y Nolan way possible. You might be saying, Kevin, just because the movie is about interdimensional travel and interstellar travel doesn't mean that the movie experience itself is actually interdimensional or even three-dimensional. But bear with me, okay?
The movie is based on an emotional journey, and we really wanted the intense audience experience. We mixed the sound in a very unique way to really give the sense, when a rocket takes off. Everything is really designed at making a really immersive experience, really making people feel like they're on this journey with these characters.
So, for Nolan, somebody who was a student and a fan of blockbusters growing up, he knew that there is already a dimension of films that is outside of the two dimensions of sight that we experience when watching a film. I mean, they are talkies after all.
I grew up loving Hollywood blockbusters, and for me it's really a process of trying to recreate that magic, that sense of scale, that sense of immersion in a world that you grew up with.
Nolan is a fan of films like Star Wars and Jaws and 007. Now, I just played for you 3 things that immediately let you know what movies I was talking about. The experience of the ears, the sound design, and the score. But that's not the third dimension that I'm talking about either. You see, what you experience with your eyes and what you experience with your ears does something to you. It affects you.
A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind.
That's right. I'm talking about the dimension of the heart. I mean, he says it right in the movie.
Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space.
In fact, the entire film is fixated on the connection between emotions and time-space. Separation anxiety, as one might say. And that's exactly what a good film does. I mean, this kind of thing isn't new to the movie-going experience. Most of what happens in a movie is an attempt to invoke real-life emotions on a character that you don't know. I mean, why can we feel like we experienced an entire person's life in 2 hours? Well, it's from using these kind of tricks of the trade. Music, acting, crossfades, all of these little things that make a movie work.
What you're trying to do is mess with and alter the very rhythms of filmmaking.
So I don't think Christopher Nolan has invented something new here, but I do find it fascinating that he seems to take this very intentional and strategic, calculated and scientific approach to those things that filmmakers have used for a very long time.
I approach the structure from a very mathematical and geometrical point of view. A lot of diagrams, a lot of careful planning about how I was then going to write the script.
I mean, when you hear this line in the film,
Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space.
That is not a line you would expect from somebody like Christopher Nolan. That is a line that you would expect in some Disney movie or something.
That love business is a powerful thing.
Greater than gravity?
Yes, I'd say it's the greatest force on Earth.
But he's very much not an emotional, hippie kind of person. So when hearing that, I think that one has to step back and ask, why is this line even here?
It's not about how hard it was to make the film. It's about how does that shot move me as an audience member. And as the director on set, that's the mindset I have to be in most of the time.
Before a single frame of a film is made, before it has all of the special effects, or the score, or the sound design, or it's converted into 3D, there is a script. A script can help you visualize. It can make you feel with merely words. Everything that a movie can do, a good script can do. Which means everything else involved in making a film, the actors, the production crew, post-production, everything serves to enhance all of the feelings and all of the emotion that is provided in the script. And this movie, through the script, the editing, the music, the sound design, the shots, the pacing, all of it, I believe, is Nolan's extreme indulgence in those things that make you feel. Not like a cerebral avant-garde kind of way, but in an effort to intentionally tap into everything that makes a movie and utilize that as his third dimension. I think this is why much of the movie's story makes less sense from a logical perspective, but it does make sense from an emotional one, which I think threw people off. A lot of the critics of this film try to dive into the facts and the logic and the science of the film, which there is a ton of and a lot of accuracy, but I think that's simply a guideline or a vehicle for Nolan to explore emotions. Now, do I think that this means people should like the movie? Not necessarily. Personally, I do believe that the movie probably deserves the 73, I think, % on Rotten Tomatoes, but not because it's a bad movie. Not in the way that a lot of movies are just bad, incompetent, poorly done, but because this, like many of Nolan's movies, is a huge swing for the fence. While most of his movies are home runs, this one's a miss for a lot of people. To prepare for this video, I watched back through this movie, thinking about all the details, all the intentionality of Nolan to truly indulge and explore what makes a movie connect to the heart. Kind of super scientific approach to the movie-going experience. It makes me appreciate it way more and enjoy it in a completely different way. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, this video is able to do the same for you. Let me know what you think about the movie in the comments below. If you notice anything about the movie that kind of adds to this theory of this being Christopher Nolan's response to 3D movies, or if you have your own theories about the movie, let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know if you like these video essay style videos. I'll see if I can do more. All right, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Good night. And that's why I decided to make an analysis in defense of a movie that people generally think is pretty good. Because, you know, what else am I going to do with my time? The other thing that I think about this movie is I've never seen anybody in an interview explain this, but I'm pretty sure that these interviews in this movie are from real people who experienced the Dust Bowl. I could be wrong. That's what it sounds like to me. And that would go right along with Christopher Nolan's tendency to want to make a real and authentic experience for everyone. And you know what? I think it works.